Hi everyone, Tracy here with another process video. This one is called Snow Fort, and here I am with my Studio Calico Front Row kit. I have the popcorn and matinee add-ons, and I flipped through my pictures and quickly decided I wanted to scrapbook this picture of my two girls in the snow fort that they made in the backyard, the one time this year that we had enough snow to do a really big snow fort. And it was actually huge. I think they could stand inside of it. It was so big. Um, so I had a look through the papers in the kit, and I pulled a couple of papers over there to the right that you can see, but I quickly decided that the colors that were in the kit were not bold enough. So you saw me pull out my Echo Park because that's one of my favorites for snow, and I kind of like it because one of my daughter's jackets is that blue color that's in the Echo Park Everyday Eclectic collection. But then what you see me looking through right now is the On Trend collection by Crate Paper. And I was just comparing there that the chevron print that comes in the Studio Calico kit, which is by Basic Gray, is really similar to the chevron in the On Trend collection, but the On Trend collection is just a little bit brighter and deeper colors. So I put away the Basic Gray chevron paper from the kit and decided to go with the chevron paper that came in the On Trend collection. So I did keep some of the Studio Calico Kit Club embellishments out. So you see me here going through the arrows and geotags. I took out some arrows. Those are from Studio Calico, and some of the Lawn Fawn speech bubbles that are wood veneers. And I have an assortment of other embellishments up top that I'll talk about as I put them on the layout. Now I'm looking for a background, so I'm going to my wood and ledger paper category in my paper storage. And this is just whenever I come across a paper that I think I might use as a background that is either wood or there's a couple papers in there that shouldn't be in there. But mostly what's in there is wood and ledger papers. And so I thought I might want to use one of those, but then I didn't find anything that I thought would work. And then I thought just a plain beige, but ugh, who likes beige? And then I came across this gem, which is an awesome, I thought it was gray when I was pulling it out, but then once I put it next to the papers, it looked blue, and then I took out a navy blue paper, and that was way too bright. So whatever this color is, it is by American Crafts, and it came in their neutral collection, and like just the collection pack of cardstock, and it is awesome. I want more of it. I have to figure out what color it is and get some. It's like an inky blue, almost. Maybe it's navy. I don't know. I'm a little colorblind because I thought it was gray. So here I am just kind of making a bunch of different sized pieces of paper to put on my background. So I had one span, that floral one span the whole length, and then the chevron one go up and down, and then I have that nice blue floral going more horizontally, and then it was kind of a lot, so I decided to put that pink one on top of it. And I just kind of wing it, like I just cut a bunch of different shapes. As you saw, I don't really have any plan in mind or ideas of how I want it to go. I just always want at least one vertical when most of mine are going horizontal, and the opposite. So if they're almost all vertical, I want at least one to go horizontal just to give the page a bit of balance. And I wanted the large floral print that's in the very background to kind of stick out and become part of the background, if that makes any sense. Because it's such a large print, I wanted to be able to see the print. I didn't want to mostly cover it up, so I wanted to make sure that it was the one that kind of extended further than all the other ones. The other ones are smaller prints, so it's okay if you layer them. You can still see little bits and pieces of them. This is why I don't ever cut. You saw that I used a trimmer this time. I often just use my scissors, and this is what using a trimmer leads to. Lots of obsessing about, is it lined up or not? Because if I cut with my scissors, it doesn't need to be lined up. So yeah, some of these papers really gave me grief. I was trying to get them straight, and then they were sticking to each other wrong, and yeah, so this is why I don't use a trimmer. I did outline all of those photos or all of those pictures. all of the papers. And now I'm actually, I decided that instead of using a mat, I would just outline my photo as well. I often outline my photos, especially where this whole photo is just white, so there's nothing on the edge. Then I decided that I would mat it as well, using that kind of tighter floral that matches the background floral. But then I didn't want to outline right beside another outline, so I decided to ink the edges of this one, just to set it apart from whatever it's going to sit on. So now I'm just trimming off all of the excess pieces, and those pieces are sometimes what I use to put up in the top corner, so I'm going to hold those on the side in case I want to use them there. And then this is a piece of trim or ribbon. It's a black chevron print, and it came in the Studio Calico kit. And now I'm taking out those wood veneers to check and see if they're going to look good on the photo in the place that I had planned for them. And I like that look, so I'm going to snap a picture, even though I don't think I would forget that. But now I'm going to put that ribbon in place, and I really love what that ribbon adds to the layout. It adds, like, I end up covering up a lot of it, but it adds a nice texture, and it also kind of grounds the photo and gives the picture a little ledge to sit on in my layout. So these are the on-trend die cut pieces that come when you get the collection pack, and so that smile kind of jumped out at me. And then I thought I might use that oval-shaped frame as something to kind of soften all of those corners up there in the corner, but I ended up deciding that I liked all of the corners, so I got rid of that oval eventually. I also pulled out that that banner that says "Sweet" to kind of string across the top corner. And I just had to use my paper piercer to get all of those little circles out so I could get a good sense of what that frame was going to look like. At this point, I'm still planning on keeping it. I have moved my photo early on in laying this out. I had my photo way up over against the right-hand edge, and then I knew I'd want to do some journaling. I don't always do journaling on my layouts because sometimes the picture tells the story good enough that I don't, like, sometimes I think that words are redundant on my layouts, but in this one I did want to say something about what this photo was, so I pulled out those L Studio tabs, and they are, let me see what they're called. L Studio Die Cuts Journaling Cards. That's all I wrote down. Sorry. I don't know what collection they're from, but I really like them layered over there on the side. And so once I had the two of them together, I realized that the gray one did in fact need to be outlined. Sometimes something dark like that, you can't even tell if it's outlined, but it was just light enough that it did need to be outlined. So I'm just going to layer those so that you can see a little bit of both of them. And I actually didn't want the little corner there to hang over the edge. I didn't want to cut off that corner because I wanted it to be kind of like the two tab elements to repeat, and if I cut off the corner it wouldn't make such a nice repetition there. So I laid out those arrows again just to make sure that they're still looking good. And what am I doing now? Oh yes, so I thought that the trim there, as much as I loved it, I thought it was looking a little lonely. So this is one of those things that I often do, which is decide after the fact to put something under something, and then it's really hard to get it straight. And those stickers are just sticky enough to stick when you don't want them to stick, but then they're not all that sticky, so you can still move them around, which means you can fuss with them a little bit. I guess that's a good thing. I'm just trimming off the edges so it doesn't look like it. I don't like it to start on a scallop. Like, I like it to start in the middle of a scallop. So, and now I'm doing the same thing with the blue sticker. These are from the Crepe Paper On Trend collection, so these are just the border stickers that come in the collection pack. So I trimmed the blue the blue border the same way that I trimmed the green one, so that it would stop mid scallop instead of on the end of a scallop. And now I'm going to pull out my little miscellaneous squares and rectangles and tags and stuff. And what I'm thinking at this point is that my title is probably going to go somewhere along the bottom, which I'm going to change my mind eventually. So I'm just kind of pulling out any tags and stuff that I think kind of match with the layout, and I'm putting them all over to the left. And I'm just looking for something to put my title on. And so I took an envelope, I took a tag, I kind of thought about layering a bunch of stuff on top of something else, and it was just looking really busy for a title. Sometimes I can make that work, and sometimes I just can't. It worked really nice in the layout that's entitled Sometimes You Have to Give the Camera to Someone Else, or something like that. The labels just gave a really nice background for all of the different fonts that I used in that title. But here I'm just not pulling out the right labels, or I don't have the right sizes or shapes or whatever. So instead I'm going to make this a little cluster of embellishments under the photo, and I'm going to put my title somewhere else. So I'm just making sure that I have a combination of square and circle elements, just to, because the circles kind of soften. There's a lot of strong corners on this layout, so I wanted to make sure I got a couple of circles in there. And then the smile die cut also gives it a little bit of softness. So I think I took a picture there just so that because I know I'm going to take these off to outline some of them. I'm not going to outline all of them, but I'm going to outline some of them. Some of them have enough boldness that they kind of stand out, but some of them kind of get a little bit lost. So if I was using these labels for to kind of mat a title or to provide a background for a title, I probably wouldn't outline any of them, because I like them to kind of disappear into the background if they're just serving the purpose of grounding a title. But where they're going to be embellishments on their own, I wanted to outline some of them. And then that phrase that is on the gray die cut that I'm covering up, I just didn't like the color, or the phrase didn't fit. I can't remember what the deal was with that, but I liked the gray background. It's like a chevron. And all of the tags that I've got, the circle ones, I think are from L Studio, and some of the tags are from L Studio, and some of them are from Evalicious. I tend to order from Evalicious and L Studio at the same time, and so they come in the mail and they go into my stash at the same time, and so I don't always remember which is which. And now these are buttons that came in the collection, and I didn't write down who they're from, but they might be from My Mind's Eye, or they might be from Crepe Paper too. I can't quite remember, but they're the buttons that came in the February Studio Calico kit. And now I want to put a date on this layout, and so this basic gray cut apart paper is great for that kind of thing, because it has like little tiny ledger papers and stuff. So I just stamped the date with one of those roller date stamps that says snapshot, and I cut it out and cut a little tiny banner fishtail on the end of it, and now I'm going to layer it in amongst my other die cut embellishments. I added a couple of buttons there that I think I mentioned. And now I'm probably looking for thickers. I don't know what I'm doing here. I guess I'm missing an action. Maybe one of my kids called me or something. Okay, here I am, I'm back, and I am adding some little pop dots to some of the corners of the papers just to make them stick out a little bit. And replacing all of the two speech bubbles from Lawn Fawn and the arrows from Studio Calico. They all came in the kit, all of the wood veneers that I'm using today. And just going to fuss a little teeny bit with those arrows to get them right. And I'm going to use glossy accents to place these arrows. And there was something about the angle that I was sitting that I didn't do a good job, and I made a bit of a mess with the glossy accents. And I actually thought about, because you really can see the glossy accents on the photo in real life. I don't know if you can see it so much on the video. And I thought about pulling up that photo, pulling off all the wood veneers, reprinting the photo, and adding the wood veneers again. And I just thought, yeah, that would mean that the glossy accents, little smudges you couldn't see, but I don't think you're going to see them when it's in a page protector, and that was just one of those things that sometimes I just let certain things go, and sometimes I'm more of a stickler for those kinds of details. And this was just one of those times when I wasn't a stickler for that detail, and I just decided to leave it. I wanted to put a little something up on that banner, so I pulled out some enamel dots, and that little swirl I think is Kaisercraft little pearls. And so I put a red pearl and a green enamel dot and a couple of other enamel dots. I just kind of spread them around the layout. Just for a little bit of interest. Used my tiny attacher to attach the banner, and I also put a couple of pop dots under the banner to make it pop up a little bit. I'm still using this box to do my sprinkling. I heard about this on the paper clipping roundtable, and I'm giving it a try. This is the second layout, and I just don't think that it contains, I'm a little too worried about getting the sprinkling outside of the box, so I think I'm going to go back to my cake box. And somebody had suggested using a Studio Calico box too, which has the flap, so I might try that next. I have a giant cake box. It's such a mess, and it keeps getting kicked around my scrap room. So now I think I've decided to, so yeah, the sprinkles that I put were opaque white and warm calico, which is my version of black. I don't have a true black, so I just use warm calico and it comes out as black. Did a bit of sprinkling in each of the, like the top left and bottom right hand corners. And now I'm looking for a title, looking through my thickers, and because I want to call this Snow Fort, I went to my white letter stickers first. And this is a thicker called Cupid. It's called Cupid, and I didn't have a second O for the O in Fort, so I took a Q and I used my X-Acto knife to cut off the little things, and then it looked very obviously cut, so I took my basic gray circular sander tool, and sorry I'm off camera, but I'm just kind of trying to sand it down so it didn't look so obviously cut. It still doesn't look perfect, but once it's on the layout, I think there's a lot to look at, so those kinds of details don't always pop out. And yeah, then I decided that I wanted to do two different fonts, like one for the word snow and one for the word fort. So these thickers are called Giggles that I'm using, and they're a foam, just a foam font. They're not new or anything. They're easy to get, I think. And then I thought about using the fancy font from Dear Lizzie, but it was really too fancy for this layout. I liked the idea of using black because there's so much darkness on the layout, but it was a bit too high contrast, like between the white snow and then to have the word fort be so dark. So I went with staying with the Cupid for the word fort, and I'm going to switch out the O so that I use the better O, I think. Maybe I didn't. And then I'm going to use the word snow for that top one with the Giggles font. And I kind of like how that looks. Don't know what I'm doing here. What was that? Oh, I am, yes, I'm trying to put holes in my layout so that I can sew those buttons on, but the buttons came with glue dots on it and it was really hard to poke through. But I eventually got it, and so I'm going to sew those on, and I'm pretty sure that I just stopped recording because the sewing was taking like insanely long to sew two silly buttons on. But I really like the look of sewn buttons because it kind of makes them, you know, look like they're not just floating there. So I did get them sewn on. It's just it took a huge amount of time for some reason. So here are the close-ups of the layout. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. And if you have any comments or questions, just leave me a message below.